Barbershop conversation, guys. Go ahead and subscribe. I might as well have this conversation now because I talked about it in my last video. Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Bud Crawford. 2 years from now, I see this probably being the biggest fight in boxing. I don't see either one of them losing. I see Terence Crawford getting 1 or 2 fights at 147. People he definitely can manage, and I see these guys running into each other in 2018, and probably one of the more anticipated welterweight division fights in a long time. I'll probably be more excited about this fight than I was about Sean Porter and Keith Thurman. But with all due respect to Keith Thurman, all roads leads to Keith Thurman right now. So, but out of respect for him, but I'm thinking in the future. And right now, I see this fight, I would give the slight edge to Errol Spence. One, because Errol Spence is already at 147, and Terence Crawford is moving up in weight. So there's a big difference in power when you're coming up in weight as opposed to you being there. And another reason that leads me to Errol Spence is because they both get hit a lot. Errol Spence is great at going to the body. He's the Y2K 2016 version of the body snatcher. And I don't think Terence Crawford will be able to withstand it. Now let's look at Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford's IQ is so impressive. And I think he'll be able to decode him, but can he stop Errol Spence in his tracks? Errol Spence's offensive game, I would compare it, my first love is basketball, so I'll compare it to basketball, like UNLV 91-92, that offense, or Golden State. They overwhelm you with so much offense that their offense helps out their defense, because they score so many points. They make 15, 23s, and that's who Errol Spence is. And Terence Bud Crawford is LeBron James. He does everything good, but knows how to make his teammates better. What I mean in boxing, his teammates better would be he knows how to make his jab a little bit more effective. He knows how to use angles. We haven't had the chance to see Errol Spence use angles use angles in terms of figuring out his opponent. He's never had to figure out his opponent yet. He's walked through everybody he's gone through, but Bondu is going to force him to figure something out because Bondu doesn't want to get knocked out. We saw that in the Keith Thurman fight. So, but right now I would lean towards more Errol Spence just because of the body, not because of talent. I'm just being honest. Errol Spence looks perfect. If he looks long, lean, 0% body fat, but he just looks like a perfect fighter, physically. He has the reach. He can easily campaign at 154. I would expect him to call out everyone at 147, and I would even pick Errol Spence to give Canelo a run for his money. I don't know who wins that fight, but I can see Errol Spence giving Canelo a run for his money. And I see Terence Crawford killing everybody at 140. I mean, to the point where it's like Roy Jones Jr., Floyd Mayweather, Chavez Sr., like if you take away Meldrick Taylor, there's nobody that can beat him, and I can't wait for this fight because there's so many great fights in between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. But I'm excited to see that happen. But when I look here's another thing too. When I look into Terence Crawford's eyes, like for real, I see a killer. I hope that everyone that hears this video has a chance to see Terence Crawford live. Or if you can't see him fight live, go to one of the weigh-ins. And when you look in Terence Crawford's eyes, whew, it's menacing. And what substantiates that point is Kenny Porter said, I'm going to paraphrase what he said and try and get as close as I can to the quote. Saturday, he says, I have nothing but respect for Terence Crawford because one time we were training and Terence Crawford wanted to fight one of his teammates. And Kenny Porter was like, no, this ain't happening. So we went back in the alley and Kenny Porter, and I quote Kenny Porter, he says, well, I just got to dust that one off. So he implied a lot, meaning Terence Crawford is flat out fearless. He fears no man. He said ever since that time he's had the utmost respect for Terence Crawford. And if you're from where I grew up, they would say he got that nigga in him. You know what I mean? He got that bona fide kill you. You know, and his background is a clear indicator that he might have that in him. So barbershop conversations, and that's something that you can't measure. If you understand what I'm saying, that dog, that's something that you can't measure. And it's the last time I saw that in the fight was, if you guys saw it on the undercard of Berto Ortiz, I think it's Thomas Williams against Edwin Rodriguez. Thomas Williams had that dog in him, like, and I didn't know how to gauge it when I met him at the media workouts, but he came with like 6 people, his kids, and you could see the hunger. Like a reporter didn't even know who he was at some point, and he's like, that's not me. And you could see like he just wanted to get in the ring and fight and prove a point. But because I really didn't know him either, I kind of just swept it under the rug because I was waiting on Berto and Ortiz to get there because that's who I got to write about and cover. But Terence Bud Crawford got that dog in him. That he got vengeance in his eyes, if you guys get what I'm saying. And I don't see that in Errol Spence, the dog in him. But what I do see in Errol Spence is the most highly talented, gifted offensive fighter that we have in boxing. That's a quote-unquote prospect to a title contender. If you guys get what I'm saying. I don't see the dog in him, but I just see a perfect fighter, you know. But it's going to be fun getting there, though, I tell you what, because Errol Spence, he got to go through a lot of fighters to get there, if you guys understand what I'm saying. So after he beats Bundu, he gets to fight for the IBF championship, and we see what Kell Brooks does after Triple G. But Terence Crawford literally has no one to fight at 140, so maybe they'll do catch weights at 143, 144 to see how he physically looks in camp. And I want you guys to fully understand, or help you guys understand about, you guys say just 3 pounds. 3 pounds is a lot in boxing. I don't know what to equate it to, but it means a lot. And it may not be the weight itself, it's what you got to do to make that weight, because the difference between going in at 143 and 140, it's probably about 20 miles, if you guys know what I'm saying, because you got to build up to get there. I don't know how many rounds that is in boxing, maybe 20 rounds, 20-mile runs, but it's a huge difference in fighting at 43 and fighting at 40. So because the last 2 days, if you're already on weight and you only got to make 43 as opposed to making 40, you only got to work out the last day to lose 3 to 5. You can lose 5 pounds in one day. You can run 4 miles, put the speed. I've done this hundreds of times. Put the speed sweat on, go run 5 miles. I'll lose 5 pounds instantly. You know, it's fairly easy to lose 5 pounds. And you'll gain it immediately back after you work out, once you put water and you have a meal. But in order to make weight, that's what you do. So imagine only having to lose 2 pounds. But keep in mind, you're cutting weight as you get through camp. So if your starting weight is 159 when you walk into camp and you got to make 140, those 3 pounds are huge, man. That's like an extra steak or something. You guys know what I'm saying? And to fighters, just so you understand the value of making weight, Roy Jones has a great quote. He says, when you hungry and you got to make weight, it gives the fighter a certain edge. You know, it gives you a certain hunger no pun intended, but the actual hunger and that's the drive. It makes you angry, and there's something to be said about making weight. I challenge all you guys, try and lose 7 pounds. Try and lose 7 pounds in 3 days. Weigh yourself, try it and see, and so you guys can get a grasp of what it feels like. But barbershop conversations, let me know what you guys think about this fight. I think 2018 is going to be an amazing fight in Vegas. But I have Errol Spence winning this fight in a great display of offensive talent. And I could see you guys picking Terence Crawford. It's either way, right now, you're not wrong. Whoever you pick, you're not wrong. So, barbershop conversations. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.